worth the wait, you know? So, yeah, that's my thoughts on volume 12. So now let me shift gears to talking about the recent volume 12.5. And oh my gosh, this volume, I feel like people are already saying this is like top 5 volume, okay? That's why I said these two volumes back to back are easily top 10, but volume 12.5, people are already saying it's easily top 5 volumes of the series, okay? Because this, and I think the reason for that is that this volume, well, first of all, handles the aftermath of the previous volume so well, and it also just, it really feels like it marks the new chapter, or like the end of a new chapter and the start of a new one, okay? So, the biggest thing from this volume is that Sakayanagi actually goes through with the expulsion, okay? So, Sakayanagi leaves the school by her own volition, you know? A lot of people thought that, Ryuin, he wouldn't accept Sakayanagi's expulsion. A lot of people thought that, they were just gonna get rid of their contract that they had. But no, Kinugasa actually had the balls to let Sakayanagi go. And I feel like it's somewhat respectable, He, let's be honest, he's been the last two expulsions that he had were just fodder, okay? Like Kamuro, I personally feel like she still had more to offer to the story. I still feel like she could have stayed longer, but Meizono, she literally got one illustration. The last volume had one illustration, and then it was the same volume she got expelled. And it's just like, why are you getting rid of these background characters, But he actually had the balls to get rid of a main major character. And yeah, so she basically gives, before she leaves, she basically gives Ryuin advice here that she basically tells him that, hey, you cannot beat Kiyo by yourself, Ayanokoji. You cannot beat him alone, and you need help. You need to work with someone to beat him. So that's the last piece of advice that she gives to Ryuin. Pretty solid advice. And then she also talks about a weakness that he has, but like, I don't really exactly remember. I don't really know what weakness she was referring to, or what she may have said, because again, I finished the volume like last night around this time, so excuse me if I don't remember everything, but those are the two biggest things that come out of their final confrontation. And so at the start of the volume, towards the beginning, we had to get rid of, it starts off right after the special exam, where we had Ayanokoji basically explaining to the whole class, why Meizono had to get expelled, and how sort of why it had to be necessary for him to do that in order to win. And, at first the class isn't really buying it. They're pretty much scared of him because he's been the result of a lot of expulsions. He was basically involved in Yamauchi's expulsion, then Sakura's expulsion, now Meizono's. And so, luckily for Ayanokoji, Matsushita finally played her part in the story and stood up for him. And then we also had Kushida standing up for him. And then, Horikita, well, she kind of stood up for him, where she basically said, yeah, Ichinose, we would not have beaten her if we didn't throw her off her game. So, that was kind of nice to see, the three of them standing up for him seeing how he was able to clear everything up. And then we also had Ichinose clearing sort of things up with her class. And then Hoshinomiya, I like how we're getting more of her now. I like that she's becoming more active in these recent volumes, and that she basically stands up to class D, because we all know that they're like a positive class. So like even though they're pretty much at the bare bottom now, and there's really not much of a chance for them to come back at all, they're still like being positive. They're still like not blaming Ichinose, trying to be Shibata especially. He's trying to be positive, but then Hoshinomiya just shuts that down and is like, "What is wrong with all of you? Y'all are down significantly. There is literally almost no chance for y'all to come to Class A. So it's like, I need y'all to get out of this. I need y'all to get out of this delusion." And it's nice to see her actually do that, like, as a teacher, you know? It's nice to see all of that. And so then we had this meeting. So this was one of the first illustrations that came up before volume 12.5 was released. And so everyone was like, okay, what could this possibly be? So basically, Ayanokoji sets up this meeting between all of the teachers. He basically meets with Hoshinomiya and then has all the other teachers eavesdrop on them. And so basically they're all aware that Hoshinomiya is willing to cheat to get her class up so that Chabashira's class can't remain in Class A at the end of the year. And that's kind of crazy that he just like set her up like that. So I'll get back to that later. So they're basically trying to figure out how to deal with Hoshinomiya. But then the next sort of biggest thing was we finally got the three-way meeting. So Ayanokoji's father right here, he finally shows up, and you know, it goes just about how you expect. You know, the meeting between him, Chabashira, and Ayanokoji. Ayanokoji basically states that he wants to follow, of course, Nagamo and Manabu Horikita to their university. It basically goes swiftly like that, but Ayanokoji's father is obviously like stalling for time because, you know, it's like, why did you come? You know, Ayanokoji didn't know why he would ever come to something like this, and it was basically to meet Koenji's father, okay? So this man right here is literally Koenji's father, and then you have the Prime Minister Kijima. So if you read Volume 0, you know how important this man is. He's literally like one of the most powerful people. All three of these guys are powerful, but these two especially. So Atsuomi basically forces his way into this meeting between these two, and he kind of gets bullied. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny how Ayanokoji's father basically gets bullied by these two, because by the end of the meeting, I think Kijima basically tells him that he's a boring person, and he tells him to get out, okay? Because honestly, Ayanokoji's father doesn't really say much. You know, he basically just wants to because this is President Koenji. So I don't know exactly what that means. Is he like the president of like all of Japan? Or is he just president of like a specific I think conglomerate. I think that's exactly what it was. He's the president of a conglomerate. That's right. And so they both basically are uninterested in Ayanokoji's father. But then right before Ayanokoji's father leaves, it's basically brought up that Ayanokoji wants to leave classes, and pretty much they're both aware that their kids are in the same class, but they basically make a bet to where if Ayanokoji switches classes and then he gets that class to Class A, then Ayanokoji's father wins the bet, and then they have to have a private meeting after that. But if Koenji wins and keeps his class in Class A, then basically nothing happens, really. Then they just don't have the meeting. So this is huge, guys. This is what I'm saying, why this volume is probably easily top 5, because this is huge. We finally could get Koenji doing something, because literally his father tells Chairman Sakayanagi that he has to keep his class in Class A, if Koenji wants to keep his freedom. And it's and like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what us Coat fans have wanted for so long, because this man Koenji has literally been such a pain. He's such every time he's on screen, it's such a pain to read about him because he doesn't do anything. But now it's like he's actually being forced to do something in the third year, and it's like finally we can see something happen with him. But here's the thing though. I'm happy that this happened, but I'm also worried. And I'm worried because Koenji is going to be aware that he needs to keep his class in Class A, but Ayanokoji isn't, okay? And that's what I'm worried about. So because Ayanokoji doesn't know about this bet, I'm worried that when it finally comes to where these two are finally going to have to fight each other, I'm worried that because Ayanokoji doesn't know about the bet, that he's going to bank on the fact that Koenji is not going to do anything, and then that's how Ayanokoji is going to win. I'm worried that because Ayanokoji thinks that Koenji is not going to participate in like the final battle, that it's gonna and that all of a sudden Koenji actually does participate, and then that's how Ayanokoji loses, because ultimately he wants to lose. But if that's how he loses, then I think that's gonna be bad. No matter how it's executed, I don't know if I'm gonna like that, because I feel like that's gonna be such a cop out for Ayanokoji losing, even though he really shouldn't lose to anyone, really. Besides maybe Koenji, I guess. But for me personally, I'm one of those people where it's like, I don't feel like Ayanokoji should ever really lose. And like, I feel like the story should end where it's like he wins, but his point of it's possible for him to be defeated is like enough to satisfy him. That's what I'm hoping for. But if it turns out that what I just said, this is how he loses by not knowing about the bet, I don't think that'll be good. I don't think I'll like that execution, no matter what. But you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comment, how you guys feel about that. And so, yeah, that's basically what happens with him, with his father and everything. So, next thing that happens is the breakup, okay? So, as we all know, Ayanokoji breaking up with Kei is something that has been built up for like the longest time now. It's basically been built up ever since they got together. Like, let's be honest. It's basically been built up ever since they got together that they would eventually break up. And, Kei fans always had their hope. They had their hope that they would stay together. And, I honestly do feel bad for y'all that it came true, that they broke up in this volume. But yeah, it pretty much happens. And the way Kinogasa does it is insane. Kinogasa in this volume tricks us so many times, and it's honestly, it honestly made it hard for me to read, a little hard for me to read this volume. Not that it made it hard for me, like necessarily in that it was a bad read, but it made it hard for me to read the volume because the way Kinogasa does it is that the breakup switches to Kei's perspective, okay? So, of course, we all know that throughout most of the volume, it's from Ayanokoji's perspective. But when the breakup happens, it starts off from Ayanokoji's perspective by them going to the movie theater and watching the movie. But then, when they get to the karaoke room, it actually switches to Kei's perspective out of nowhere. And that just completely threw me off while I was reading it, because I'm like, okay, wait, why is that? Because, of course, Kei is referring to Ayanokoji as him. And so I just got so confused because I'm like, wait, isn't Ayanokoji still talking? Shouldn't he be calling her by her? shouldn't he be saying K is her? So yeah, that just made it so weird to read this volume, and honestly, that's why I feel like I need to go back and like reread that part so that maybe it'll leave a more lasting impact for me, and maybe I'll enjoy it. Because as of right now, the breakup, I I didn't feel like the when I read it, I didn't feel like necessarily the emotional weight that much because it was just so confusing for me to read. So I feel like maybe if I reread that part, that I'll feel that emotional impact more. But yeah, as you can see in this illustration, yeah, Kay is just devastated, man. Like it's honestly sad, a little sad to see her like this. But yeah, but again, this is the volume where the payoff finally happens. I feel like this volume is where decisions are finally made. The decision for Sakayanagi to officially be expelled, the decision for Ayanokoji and Kei to officially break up, and the decision for finally what class is Ayanokoji going to switch to. Okay, so first, this illustration right here, Ayanokoji officially says bye to Sakayanagi, so that's a good illustration right there. Then we switch to this illustration right here where basically Ishizaki basically sets up this meeting between him, Ayanokoji, and Hiyori, and he basically tells Ayanokoji once again that he should switch to their class. And honestly, if Ayanokoji did switch to Class C, I don't know if I'd mind it that much, because or maybe it probably still wouldn't be the best decision for him to go to that class because Ryuin is still there. But I do like the fact that in this conversation, Ayanokoji does acknowledge that he has good friends in Class C. Like I feel like I like that so much. I like that Ayanokoji is acknowledging that who his friends are. He's acknowledging that he's good, that he enjoys being friends with Hiyori, Ishizaki, Albert, and yeah, I like the fact that he's acknowledging also students from Class A too. I like the fact that he's acknowledging that he's cool with Morishita and Yamamura. I like the fact that he acknowledges he's cool with the Class D students, Ichinose's class. But it's also a little strange that that Horikita's class, that there's still no one that he really acknowledges as a friend besides Horikita. Okay? So let me explain that a little bit more. It's a little, me personally, I find it a little weird that, like, he's at least not friends with Pseudo, really. Okay? So it's kind of strange that after all this time, and like after Ayanokoji distanced himself from his first main friend group. So remember, we had Hasebe, Yukimura, and then Miyaki. I think Miyaki was his name. Kind of after he separated from that friend group, he basically had no one else to call his friend. And this was very clear, I think, in 9.5, I think, where Ayanokoji basically said he had no one to contact, he had no one to hang out with, not even like Pseudo or Hirata. I thought that was strange too. Like, not so like he didn't. I guess he doesn't really consider either one of those guys a friend, and I guess he doesn't really hang out with either of them either. But I don't get why. I don't get why he doesn't. Because I feel like him and Pseudo have been through so much. Like, Pseudo was there when he got stabbed, okay? Pseudo was there when he got stabbed. And then Hirata, I guess I can understand a bit more why they're not friends. Because those two don't really interact at all, really, that much, So, I don't really get why at least Pseudo isn't really considered a friend. But it makes transitioning why he's transferring classes much more understandable, It makes sense why he's transferring classes because, he's cool. He's really cool with people in other classes, you know? Ishizaki, Morishita, Kanzaki, you know, all three of them from different classes and all people that he's cool with. So leaving Horikita's class still, it's another reason why it makes more sense. And then what another thing I like is that he, and like staying on the topic of decisions being made, I like how it's somewhat acknowledged that Horikita in this illustration. So after he broke up with Kei, Horikita comes to try to speak with him. Well, she comes to see like the disappointment on his face, but I guess also to kind of comfort him, quote unquote, a little bit. But then after they meet, Horikita basically acknowledges her feelings, okay? And I like that. I like that Horikita here and Hiyori basically are both acknowledging their feelings. I mean, at least in Hiyori's case, Ishizaki is the one that basically he straight up offers Hiyori as like a dating partner to Ayanokoji for them to switch classes. Yo, Ishizaki is just so unhinged, man. This man Ishizaki is just so unhinged. He literally offers up Hiyori as a bargaining chip to date her as a bargaining chip for Ayanokoji. It's like, bro, what are you on, Ishizaki, bro? But I like the fact that Hiyori basically acknowledges that she would also be happy if he joined the class. So they're holding hands, as you can see here. And then right when Ayanokoji is about to pull away, she tightens her grip and says that I would really enjoy it if you join the class. So I like that that everything is like out in the open, you know? Like I feel like so much stuff has just been kept behind the scenes. And like Ayanokoji has kept so many things to himself, and other characters have kept so many things to themselves. But with this volume, it's like, you know, everyone knows everything, you know? Everyone knows that Ayanokoji is strong, and everyone knows that he switched classes. Everyone knows that he expelled Meizono. It's like everyone finally knows everything, you know? And I like that. That's what I mean when I say this feels like it really is a new chapter. It feels like it really feels like the end of a chapter and the start of a new chapter for Classroom of the Elite. And so getting into these last illustrations here, we finally also get the meeting between Ayanokoji and Ichinose. And this, of course, is the highlight of this at least one of the highlights of this volume, okay? So they finally have their year-long meeting. Us Ichinose fans have been waiting for this meeting for, at least in the story turns, for a whole year. And honestly, I think it's satisfying. Yeah, I'm pretty much satisfied with it. Because what Ichinose does is she basically traps this man, okay? So Ayanokoji texts her that he definitely still wants to meet, but she doesn't respond and locks herself away for the entire time, okay? She basically stays in her room right after the special exam ends, and she doesn't talk to anyone. And she does this because she wants to lure Ayanokoji in until the last minute, to where this man literally has to go past the curfew, because, you know, guys can't be in the girls' dorm until past a certain time. So Ichinose lures this man in past that time and basically traps him in the room. And so when Ayanokoji gets there, he basically tells her that, oh, that's right, let me go back. So this illustration was one that also came out before the volume released. And so we were all kind of panicked. We were like, okay, wait, what does this mean? Why is he looking like this? Why does she look depressed? And what's going on? So basically, Ayanokoji comes in and basically gives her a deal. he basically tells her that he wants her to let him transfer to a class. He wants her to let him be the leader, and he wants her to be expelled, okay? And so, as a Ichinose fan, reading this was so devastating at first, okay? And that's why I said earlier, the stark contrast from Ayanokoji being all like sort of lovey-dovey and like just a chill guy with everyone to being this absolute menace in this last two volumes is just such a whiplash because he's so cold. He literally tells her that I want you gone, okay? If you want your class to succeed, I want you to let me be the leader and I want you to leave. And reading it, I was just like, bro, no, what is this, man? Like, my brain can't comprehend what is going on. Like, this is just so different than what has been happening recently. Like, at least with volume 12, I could understand why he was cold because it's like he needed to win. He didn't want to disappoint. It would have been bad if Horikita's class lost another final exam and then didn't get to class A. It would have been really bad if they lost. But then here, it's like he's just telling her, leave. Get the heck out of the school. But then, as the volume goes, as the confrontation goes on, Ichinose, like I said, she was luring him into a trap. She tells him, no, I'm staying as the leader. I'm graduating with all of my classmates. None of them are being expelled. And you're still going to join my class either way. And so it's just reading it like that was just what the heck is going on? Because it didn't make sense to me at first because I'm like, obviously that's what should happen. Like, obviously Ayanokoji should just join her class and then both of them just lead the class to victory. But then he was like, nah, having 41 people in the class didn't feel right to me. And so I was like, bro, what? You're really gonna trip over having an uneven number? But then it's like he kind of just agrees with. Well, he doesn't agree exactly, and I'll explain that in a second. He doesn't agree exactly with what she's saying, but he basically just kind of just accepts that what she says, that she's going to stay in the school, she's going to stay as the leader, and that he's going to join her class. And then this girl literally grabs his hand and basically pushes him onto the bed. And oh my gosh, this, and then this illustration right here, and basically they do the deed. So it is confirmed that Ayanokoji and Ichinose have done the deed. And I'm just like, honestly, I don't know how to completely feel, okay, guys? Because while I was reading, this is another section of the volume where I'm gonna have to go back and reread it, okay? So because Kinugasa wrote it so sort of not, I don't know if I want to say he wrote it so weirdly, but he wrote it so sort of like confusingly because Ayanokoji is like, I don't want an uneven number, but then he just like goes along with what Ichinose wants to do. And so that's what I'm saying. I feel like reading this moment would have been so much better for me if I could just fully understand what is going on. But basically, they end up doing the deed, and then Ichinose meets up with her classmates and tells them everything, kind of. I don't think she tells him about she doesn't tell them about exactly what she did with Ayanokoji, but she does tell them that he's the one who brought her out of her depressed state, and that she's fully recovered, and that she's going to stay as the leader, and then they're still going to get to Class A. And so most of the classmates, at least Kanzaki, Hamaguchi, and Himeno, are like, they're still doubtful. We're like, okay, wait, what is wrong with you? We should be focusing on getting private points so that at least some people can get to Class A, And Ichinose is just like, nah, we good. We're still gonna do it. And it's honestly kind of crazy how much confidence she still has. Like, like oh my god, like after getting destroyed in the previous volume, it's kind of just like as the readers, I feel like we should all just be like, how do you still have confidence at all? You know, I feel like most of us are probably, well, at least while reading it, we're more on Kanzaki's side, where it's just like there's no hope to get to Class A, so we should just try to get our private points up. But then Ichinose is just like, no, we can still definitely do it. Ichinose and Shibata, especially Shibata, his annoying ass, man. And this is like the first illustration we get of him. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I'm pretty sure, at least in the light novel series, this is the first time we're actually seeing Shibata's face on the right here, and then this is Kanzaki on the left. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we finally get to see him, but then also when Ichinose reveals that, Ayanokoji helped her, he's obviously upset about it because he actually has a crush on Ichinose. So I'm really and this is one of the things I was wondering about, because we all thought that he was going to switch to Ichinose's class, but then, spoiler, he doesn't switch to her class. And I thought that was going to cause conflict. If Ayanokoji went to Ichinose's class, that was going to definitely be conflict between him and Shibata. But then, as we get to like the last couple of illustrations here, class Horikita's class has a party. They basically throw a celebration party for getting the Class A, and that goes about as expected, where they basically all agree to continue supporting each other and remain in Class A. But then Ayanokoji leaves this party early. He literally, these two illustrations are back to back. So 1 minute he's there, and then the next minute he's not there. Okay, so he straight up leaves the party early and leaves Horikita by himself. And then it's revealed, if you keep reading, that Ayanokoji actually switched to I don't know how to say it, Sakayanagi's class, okay? So she leaves, and then he literally switches to her class because she's gone, and then they don't have a leader. And so, that's why I'm saying this man Kinugasa throws us all for such a wild ride in this volume. Like, this volume, that's why this is like, this is why you can understand why people say this is already like top 5 volume in the series, because it's like, what? So he really did switch to Sakayanagi's class because she is gone, and then they don't have a leader. So now he's helping them out, and then Ichinose is basically recovered. So I guess their class doesn't need help, I guess, even though they're still at the very bottom, And it's just like you really can't predict class in the elite, like, at all. Okay? And this is why we all love this series, because this series is just so unpredictable, and that is why we love it. That's why we love this series, because it very rarely does it let us know what its next move is, because this man Ayanokoji switched to Sakayanagi's class, where Morishita, Kito, Yamamura, and Kito are in there, and so now he's just gonna leave that class. And it's just like, what is going on? What is going to happen, bro? How is everyone going to react to this? Because Hoshinomiya also states that the Joker is in her hand, okay? So this is where a lot of people also have speculation that Ayanokoji actually made a contract with Ichinose or something like that, because it's like, how can the Joker be in Hoshinomiya's hands if he switched to Sakayanagi's class with Mishima? So we gotta wait until year 3 to see what's going on there. But yeah, that's just another thing. We're just gonna have to wait and figure out what does she mean by that. But it's just like, oh my, it's just, year 3 is just gonna be so crazy, guys. With Koenji finally seeming like he's gonna do something, with Ayanokoji finally switching classes, year 3 is actually gonna be insane, guys. And this volume was just so good. Like, this volume was just, I feel like I need to, like I said, I feel like I need to reread it so that I can truly understand it's why it's so peak. Because I'll be honest, like right now, I'm just like, yeah, this is definitely a good volume, but my mind isn't fully at the point where I say it's top 5, but I can totally understand why people say that, okay? Like, and it's literally, like I said, so many things are, we got so many questions are answered. There's still a good amount of unanswered questions, like how, like I said, how is the battle between Ayanokoji and Kiyotaka gonna go? What was sort of the deal he made with Ichinose, you know? There's still so many questions to answer, but this volume answered all the questions that I think year 2 needed to answer. And it feels good. The payoff for everything feels so good. And with Ayanokoji now being confirmed in Sakayanagi's class, we just gotta wait and see what happens, you know? Because this illustration right here, we had more. This is earlier in the volume. Morishita and Yamamura, Ayanokoji actually met up with them earlier in the volume, and he basically told them that he was going to switch their class. I think, okay. I don't know 100%, but that's why Kinogasa. That's why I said earlier Kinogasa like baited us so much in this volume, because he literally had them. He had Ayanokoji meet with Morishita and Yamamura, and we know that he told them something, but if you read the volume, he doesn't tell them exactly what it is. He just tells them that this is their chance of getting back into Class A. But for it to be revealed that he was going to switch their class later in the volume, it's like, okay, wait, did he tell them that that's exactly what he was going to do, that he was going to switch to their class? Or did he tell them something else, and then this was just a shock to them, that this was like the final sort of cherry on top for them? But yeah, guys, these last two, what a way to end year 2. Year 2 of Classroom of the Elite has officially ended, and it's like, what a way to end it. Like, these 2 volumes back to back, easily top 10, easily two of the best volumes that this series has to offer, and I'm so glad I got to read them, especially 12.5, because if anyone doesn't know, you know, all the fan translations are being taken down, you know, so if you still haven't read volume 12.5, I believe go to Anime Anyways channel, and then you can get the translation, I think, through his like Telegram. So like go to his community notes, and then he tells you to go to his Telegram. That's how I read it. But yeah, please let me know all your thoughts on these 2 volumes. Yeah, I want to know everything you guys think about what's going to happen in year 3. Do you guys think that this was a satisfying ending for year 2? And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.